Good afternoon, Yvonne.
Good afternoon, Evie. How are you?
I'm fine, I'm fine. As always, trying to sort out the tech, never knowing when we are really live or not. Hey,
We'll we'll just go with the fact that we are, and hope
yes.
that that is so. Hope that that is so. So, for anyone who is on the other side of the screen, welcome as always to our weekly lives, Permission to Thrive, where we're really looking at those stories, those narratives, the patterns that keep showing up more often than not without us necessarily recognizing them. And so we're looking at some of those phrases that are related to specific saboteurs, but we're not really kind of separating that out at the moment, but just looking at those phrases and really just being able to identify, gosh, that comes up a lot for me, or I've certainly experienced that before as something that I used to say a lot. And really, what does that mean? Now, we're going to be sharing from our own perspectives, from our own experiences and the experience of our clients. But we welcome your input. So always you are invited to post things in the comments and the chat underneath the video and let us have your thoughts. And so today, Evie, what are we looking at?
Well, we're looking at the fear of standing out. And yeah, I don't know how that shows up for us. We will discuss this, I suppose. But the first phrase that we're going to look at is, I don't want to draw attention. And I have, I think this is a very deep one because it can really have to do with even your upbringing, whether you are a woman or a man, of course, and other things, that other experiences that happen in your life, that where your voice was kept low or quiet. They somebody told you that it must not be loud because it's too much, or for whatever other reason. So I don't want to draw attention. It might not be a thing about business or how you show up in your environment, in like work environment. It might be also how you show up in your own life, in your own home, with your loved ones, with your friends, and so on and so forth. So because of that, I think it's a very important one to look out for.
Yeah. And I think all of these phrases are for life. So they're not always they're not necessarily tied to how you work, to the career, but your interactions, your relationships, even with your own well-being. These are all the places where these narratives, these stories, these patterns are playing out. And for me, when I think about the fear of standing out, and in particular, I don't want to draw attention to myself, it reminded me years ago, I was facilitating a session, and there was a young woman in the group, and I think I think we were just celebrating her. She said something, and everyone was just kind of like, "Oh my gosh, that's such a brilliant thought!" Da, 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 having that, and I could see her one going red and looking really uncomfortable. So I switched away, and we went on to something else. And then at the end of the session, when everyone was kind of going, I did speak to her, and I said, "Oh, I said, I said, I hope you're okay." I said, I know everyone was kind of really excited about that thing that you input." And she literally said, she goes, "I really hate like the spotlight being on me. I hate that attention." She goes, "I feel so uncomfortable." Now, I wasn't in a coaching session with her, so we weren't going down a particular road, but I did speak with her for a while, and she did open up to me, and she said it was to do some of that was to do with an experience she had um, that had made her feel unsafe. So
Mm,
anytime she received attention, that sensation came up for her. And she said, I know everyone, it was really lovely and everyone meant really well. And she didn't say I should have felt safe. She goes, I knew that I was okay. She said, but immediately what came up for me was that experience and how that experience had left me feeling about being the center of attention. Totally got that. I just thought, wow, that's really powerful. So I think sometimes, I don't want to draw attention whilst we can put it down to, things we were told and being quiet and not taking up too much space and all the other stuff that can feed into that. That sometimes it's also a life experience that somebody has had that, gets triggered, that really comes up for them. And that sensation, I mean, literally, when I said I saw her face literally change color, that was a physical reaction to just being celebrated because actually all the group were doing was celebrating something that she had offered. So I think it's just really interesting and that's why it's so important for us to pay attention. And nobody should feel forced to be in the limelight. At the same time, if you know you have got something to say, something to share, something that's important, no one should dim your light either.
absolutely. And you know, when it comes to things like that, because they are very deep rooted, and of course, in some occasions, like the lady you just mentioned, it could be that, I mean, it could be, it was like something that had to do with some sort of a trauma. It is important to like be in a community or in a safe space, and also to be able to talk about the difficulty you have being um, even celebrated. Because for some people, or for us, for to champion someone, to celebrate someone, it's like all positive and all great and all good. And it might be that this is the general consensus, but clearly there are people, and that's why we need to um, have these discussions, that things that are very naturally normal to us, they're not to them. And it's definitely one of the things that we don't want to do, is force someone to get a different perspective if they're not feeling safe. um, so yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. But
yeah,
like, if we take away that, like, that sense, and it's only a matter of like, oh, I don't like standing out, because I don't like, I just don't like it for whatever reason that you cannot pinpoint, or whatever. It is about being visible, isn't it? And if you don't like to be visible, then who are you in some ways? And I'm not talking about like, okay, become a movie star to just stand out, but just as you said, you have something important to say. You have something that you feel that it, it is a good thing to express, because it will help somebody else. By not doing it, you're really not helping anyone, um, yourself included. Yeah.
yeah. And I think there's that part where you can be hiding to you hide to stay safe. It's like,
Yeah.
because if I say something, I'm going to be judged. All the stuff that comes up. There are so many things about
Sure.
that. They're going to think I'm stupid if I say something and somebody doesn't agree. What then? All of that stuff. So instead of sharing, you hide because actually, if I say nothing, then nobody can say anything and all is well. But all is not well because within all of us is a message, a story. There is something that is there to be expressed, that is there to be shared. And so, and I always think, if you think about some of the people in the world, and I'm not going to start naming names, but who have made massive, I'm going to say positive contributions to the world. What if they had stayed quiet? What if they had avoided speaking out? What if they had avoided speaking their truth? What would we have missed out on?
Absolutely.
So there is that, and again, if we talk about in terms of saboteurs, typically like the avoider, the avoider wants to avoid, um, the pleaser, it's just like, no, 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 no. I just want to do all this. The pleaser, I just want to do all this, but no, I don't really want anyone to see that I'm doing all this. The avoider, just like, I just don't want to be seen.
Yeah.
Um, and as somebody who had an avoider trait, I've never avoided speaking out, but when I think about it, I have probably avoided confrontational situations
Right.
where actually, had I been willing to draw attention to what I was thinking and feeling, those situations would have panned out probably better.
It is very interesting. Some time ago, I watched a discussion, um, and one of the speakers was a researcher from a very big and reputable university.
Mm,
He was talking about that. He was talking about there is a sense that we have that we think that the general consensus is A, and because we think B, we don't voice it. And the problem is that that's not really the general consensus. That is actually a myth. That is not the reality. It is just that the louder voices, which is no more than 20%, are the ones that are heard the most and
hmm.
create that illusion that everybody thinks that.
That way, yes.
So it stops you from expressing yourself. And many times, I mean, I have been surprised really, because when I spoke up and said something different than whatever seems to be everybody believes, yeah, there were a lot of people that were saying, oh, I really wanted to hear that other voice. I really wanted to hear that other thing, because I thought I was really crazy thinking that thing when everybody else thinks the opposite. So we have to be
Yeah.
very careful as well. And that's what the premise of this discussion was, that we really have to be very careful and really investigate and understand what it is that we're listening out there, and what truly is the truth of that we believe, what we want to say, and find out what is the reality and what isn't,
Yeah.
because it can be very dangerous.
Absolutely. And I think this is also feeds into, it's okay to have an opinion. It's okay to think differently, even if it is
Absolutely.
differently. It's okay to stand in your truth because that ultimately is what it is. Standing in your truth, not wanting to draw attention to yourself just for the sake of drawing attention to yourself, but actually being willing to stand up and stand out for the thing that matters to you. Because if you're not willing to do that, think about it. In the world of well-being, looking after yourself, if you're not willing to stand up and stand out for what's important to you, your health will probably be shattered because everybody will be drawing from you. You will just become that, the resource that people strip dry, right? If you think about it from a career perspective, how are you going to uh, kind of elevate yourself and go to the places and really reach your potential if you're not willing to stand up and stand out for yourself, right? If you're not willing to voice what you see, what you believe, what you think could be different and could be done better, all of those things. And relationships, again, you can very easily become the doormat if you are not willing to stand up and stand out for yourself and speak your truth. So in all of these different areas, this is not about, standing out necessarily on the stage, although if that's what you want to do, absolutely go do that. This is about standing out in your life and being
Mhm.
able to voice what matters to you and not get so wrapped up in what will people think? They'll think I'm this, or who does she think she is, and all of that stuff. Like all of that stuff gets, it's all the stuff that backs up that thought, right? And before you know it, it's just like, oh, it's just easier for me not to say anything because these are all the things that are going to happen. How do you know that? How do you
That's the thing.
how do you know
You
that? And
don't
even
know.
if even if you've done it before and that has been the outcome, doesn't mean to say it's going to be the outcome again. Different room, different people, different situation.
Yeah, and I mean, it is easy, as like with things that I discussed earlier. It is easy to think that everybody thinks differently than you. That is very easy, and especially nowadays with the social media and how
Hmm.
all these things that we're listening. And not only that, the algorithms that they give us, what we are listening. Really, it's not about us choosing, and we need to, as hard as it sounds, we need to understand that this is the case. The more you're looking to, like, how do you call that now, the more you want, it's like, the bias that you create, like the more you look on a specific subject, the more you get, evidence you get that this is the way you first thought, because it all depends on your searches. But if you start searching the exact opposite, you will find that, well, the same number of articles of things that can give you the opposite evidence are there.
Yeah,
So it is very important to listen to us, to ourselves, to our deepest thoughts, and like try to voice them in some form or way, and also test them, because like there isn't anything wrong with being wrong either, in a way. And that's why we always say, if you don't agree with something, or there is something that you have taken, like it sort of spoke to you in a different way, you got a different idea from these phrases or the myth busting that we're doing, voice it, say it, let's have this conversation. That's the whole point, to have the conversations.
absolutely. Well, I've certainly from my experience, different perspectives have always, for me, opened my field of vision. They've never closed it, right? So
Exactly.
I love to hear the different perspectives because it just gives me the ability to say, wow, oh, wow, that would not even have come into my head. Or, wow, what a really interesting way. I don't have to agree with anything. I don't have to step away from what feels true to me, but just being able to see, wow, okay, there's so much more here. And that is like the beauty of us having these different mind maps that we have. Thinking differently,
Mhm.
seeing things differently, experiencing things differently, is that when we get to share them, we get to give others another way of looking at things. And I just, for me, like, how is that ever going to be a really bad thing? Because we still only have to take what we want to take and leave what we want to leave, regardless, right?
Yeah.
So let's go on to the second one. So if I shine too brightly, I'll be judged. Ooh.
Yeah, of course you are. I mean, that is the whole point, isn't it? I mean, I can't remember which philosopher said that a life that isn't, worth living is like, or actually, if you don't really live, that's the only time you're not going to be judged. So no matter what happens, in any way, in any, we are all being judged every single day. I mean, we are the first ones to judge ourselves. So why wouldn't we be judged by others, right? So it doesn't mean that by not voicing, not this saying how we feel, what we believe, is going to stop the judging. Also, one thing that's going to definitely stop if we don't voice these things is that it's going to stop our own growth.
Mm.
And we definitely want to be in a state of growth throughout our lives, right? I don't believe that there is any other way to be. I know, but this is my own belief, right? Not
Yes, and
everybody
you have
has
a
to.
right to share it.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
the point.
No, I mean, if I don't grow, if I'm not in that state, then I feel that I am really wasting away, and that is not a good state for me to be. So yeah, that's
Absolutely.
it.
And I think this thing about shining too brightly, I mean, we see it if we look at the media and we see people who, speak their minds, speak their truths, speak whatever, and sometimes you don't agree with it, and you of course you then go into judgment, whether you want to admit it or not, there is a
Yeah,
judgment that is then passed,
absolutely.
especially when you don't agree. However, if you catch yourself soon enough, you just say, okay, I don't have to agree, but they have the right to say or whatever. Fine. But for those people who are shining brightly, you know, they are shining brightly on purpose. There is a purpose for them shining brightly. And there are people who need to hear what they have to say. And I believe that's for all of us to take away because
Yeah,
we all have something to say. And within the words, the way that we communicate, people will be drawn to us. And being drawn to us so that they can light their own flame and go do their thing. That is a necessary part of allowing yourself, giving yourself permission to shine. You are not here to be, darkened out, clouded out, hidden. You are here to affect the world in the way that you are here to do, whatever that is. That's the journey that you're on and that you need to take. Shining gives you the opportunity to light the way. And whether
yeah,
that's for one, 10, 100, 1,000, whatever, the numbers are almost irrelevant. It's just that you allowing yourself to shine gives way for others to do the same. So for me, I know if you're desperately shy, there are traits that can make that feel really difficult. However, there's an awful lot of support out there to help you move through those things too.
yeah, and we say shine, and somebody might be thinking like, oh, now I'm going to take the microphone and start singing in front of like 500,000 people. No, that's not what we mean. We all, in our own little worlds, we can and we do shine. And I think every single one of us had these moments that they shine, whether it was like within the circle of their own family, of their own friends, within their colleagues. And shining to me is, as you said, Yvonne, is like the moment that somebody says, oh, that really helped me, thank you, and they pick up and move on and they do their own thing. That, to me, that's my shine, and it's enough, because it really gives you that sense of like, that is the reason why we are here. It's not for like it might be for big things if that's your thing, but like just how we interact and how we support and change the lives of the people around us. We're not going to, change the lives of a whole continent if you never change one life that was next to you. So that
Absolutely.
that's how shine looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, 'cause shine can be completely intimate, one other person. That's why I said, but it doesn't matter whether it's one, 10, 100,
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. The point is something within you is for you to share. You have to figure out what that is, right? That's what the wonderful world of coaching is will help you do. But you get to then take that into the world and do it through your work, or you do it through your relationships, you do it through your well-being, you do it with your for your children, with your children. What it that bit is the audience bit is the audience bit. You know, that can be, as I said, one or many. Um, you don't have to become a superstar to shine. You can shine in your home, you can shine in your community, you can shine in your school. Just understanding that by taking responsibility for and giving yourself permission to stand up for what matters to you and what is true to you changes lives. You know, for me, it
it
changes
does.
lives. And we
It
don't
does.
always see that. We don't always see how it changes people's lives. We don't need to. But if we've planted the seed, if we've done our bit, because we did stand up and we did put ourselves in the spotlight in that moment, and somebody has taken that and they've gone and planted it and created a magnificent garden of stuff over here. Well, how brilliant is that?
And you know, it's especially for the shy among us and the lower voices. They are the ones that usually, if they look around them and they look like deeper in their lives, they will find that they have like there were moments and there are evidence of their light and how it affected other people. But they are also the ones that can see the least. And that's why I always, when I work with people and I can see that they are having a very hard time with this part. It's like the exercise I give them is like go and ask the people in your immediate environment, people
Mm,
that you feel, you know, like connected with, or that they are your friends, your whoever, ask what they think about you. Ask where was it that you helped them? Because these are the moments that are the evidence that you need that you are actually shining. It's not something that you have to do. You like now, okay, I
yeah,
decided I'm going to start becoming blah
yeah,
blah, right? It is you are already doing it. It's just that
yeah,
you don't want to voice it, or you don't want you're not sure about it, and you don't want other people to see you doing it. There are people also that they feel very like almost threatening if they are like showing that they have helped somebody or that they have done something for someone. So these are things to consider, and the
absolutely.
reasons why, of course, you're having these feelings.
Yeah. You know, every single day we have the opportunity to shine. And whether that's we reach out to somebody and give them support, whether somebody asks us for support, you know, however the thing comes up where we get to shine, that we don't have to, you know, make a song and dance about it. We don't now need to tell everybody around the whole world this thing that we did. But we do need to acknowledge it. We need to acknowledge it so that we realize I can be here. And in any little moment of my life, I can make a difference. And that matters. That self-acknowledgement, understanding that you have value, understanding that your presence makes a difference is so important. And I think that so many people miss that. You know,
Mhm.
they miss the impact that they're having in the little things that they do, much less the big things, in the little things that they do. And I, you know, I encourage that we start acknowledging those again, not because we want to, you know, check me out, I help this person. It's got nothing to do with that, right? It's simply about realizing on purpose. You are here. When you lift somebody, when you encourage somebody, when you give somebody a different way of looking or seeing something, you open their eyes, if you like, you raise their awareness. That's a shine. That's you shining.
Yeah.
And that's to be acknowledged. And if you're anything like me, you might want to have a little celebration and dance around the kitchen, but that's a whole other thing, right? But take it where you want to take it, but really understand, because that for me is when you get to realize, no day here is wasted. No day here is wasted. That again, personal opinion. You talk about that's my personal opinion. No day here is wasted. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think we can finish with that. I love that saying because it shows the importance of each and every one of us here, and the fact that we don't need to do anything to show our worth. We're already worth it. So
We are
go
we
out
are the
there and
world.
shine.
Yes. Shine, shine, shine. And yes, so with that, just coming to the close, here at Permission to Thrive, we're all about the narratives and the stories that keep us caged, and how we can break free from them.
With grace, not grind.
There you go.
Thank you very
Wonderful.
much. See you.
Evie, thank you as always for all those who
Thank you.
listened in. Appreciate you, and please leave comments, thoughts. We welcome those.
Absolutely.
Thank you.